Beth and Rip's spin-off announcement cheapened the Yellowstone season finale. While Yellowstone Season 5 has a monumental finale to top off Taylor Sheridan's neo-Western series, the announcement that Beth and Rip's stories would continue ruined one of Yellowstone's most significant conclusions. Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spin-off was announced just days before the Season 5 finale, further muddling the ongoing conversation about how Yellowstone's story would evolve. While it was good news to hear Kelly Reilly and Cole Hauser's characters weren't done yet, it spoiled a significant outcome of Yellowstone Season 5's ending. Spoilers aside, Yellowstone's cathartic finale wrapped up all its best stories. After the death of Kevin Costner's John Dutton IE, Case followed through with his plan to sell the ranch back to the Broken Rock tribe, returning the land to Montana's indigenous people. After negotiating the terms of Case's freedom from the Yellowstone, he settled at East Camp with his family, while Beth and Rip bought a ranch in Dillon, Montana. Unfortunately, Beth and Rip's happy ending was majorly spoiled, with their spin-off announcement cheapening the payoff of Beth surviving the finale's Dutton-sibling war. Beth and Jamie's sibling war was one of the richest storylines heading into the Yellowstone Season 5 finale. Beth and Jamie Dutton have been at odds of Shakespearean proportions since Yellowstone Season 1, with Beth having it out for her brother since her first days back at the ranch, and vice versa. The conclusion of their war had high stakes, with existing conflicts and their lack of trust in one another at the core of their struggle. Heading into the finale, Beth vowed to kill Jamie. While her prevailing was likely, the spin-off announcement prematurely confirmed Beth's triumph. During Beth and Jamie's final scene in the finale, Yellowstone confirmed that Beth made it out of the sibling rivalry alive. After her father's funeral, Beth drove straight to her brother's house in her Bentley with her signature road rage. When inside, Beth violently attacked Jamie, intending to kill him. While her brother fought back, Rip showed up at the perfect time. Beth ultimately killed Wes Bentley's Jamie, following through on her promise that she would bring justice to John's suffering. Beth's last words to her father were, "I will avenge you." The Deadline report confirming a new Yellowstone spinoff starring Beth and Rip spoiled Beth, making it out of Yellowstone's Season 5 without a doubt. While her bloody battle with her brother was ultimately predictable, the report left no room to interpret whether Beth would survive the fight. While the screenwriter did his best to keep Yellowstone's ending under wraps, Sheridan couldn't keep the news about Beth and Rip's spinoff a secret forever, since contract negotiations were underway. Still, while the spin-off announcement spoiled the flagship's ending, it made Beth and Rip's ending all the more significant. The announcement suggested that Beth and Rip's story would share the most DNA with Sheridan's flagship, including the Yellowstone moniker in the title and characters from the original series, filling out the story with familiar faces. One good thing about the report was that fans, knowing Beth and Rip would live to see another day, could interpret the couple's ending at Beth and Rip's Dillon, Montana ranch as a new beginning, teasing where their Yellowstone story would pick up in the distant future. There was a time when the Duttons ruled the small screen with a grit so palpable it left viewers breathless every Sunday night. The sweeping plains of Montana, the unrelenting family loyalty, and the dangerously beautiful dynamic between Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler made Yellowstone the juggernaut it became. So when the long-awaited season finale aired, a moment fans had been bracing for since the first shot of a cowboy hat against a blood-red sunset, expectations were sky-high. Fireworks were expected. Closure was prayed for. Instead, the moment was hijacked. Why? Because a spin-off announcement stole the spotlight. Beth and Rip were finally settling into the mythic kind of love story the show had always hinted at, but never quite allowed to bloom without scars. And after all the bloodshed, all the betrayals, and all the whiskey-soaked threats, Fans hoped the finale would honor what Yellowstone had built. Instead, as the credits rolled and the screen faded to black, a slick trailer dropped online. Coming soon, Rip and Beth, the ride never ends. And just like that, the emotional gravity of the finale evaporated into branded merch and spin-off hype. The announcement didn't feel like an expansion of the universe. It felt like a commercial break during a eulogy. Viewers had just witnessed a finale meant to serve as a requiem for the show's core, the legacy of the Dutton Ranch, the fading American West, the cost of loyalty. But instead of letting the weight of those final moments breathe, fans were yanked into a different kind of narrative. Don't cry too hard. Beth and Rip are back in a totally different timeline. New town, possibly Texas, and hey, the truck is shinier. The transition felt less like a chapter ending and more like a hard cut to a rerun. The problem wasn't that Beth and Rip don't deserve a spinoff. They absolutely do. If anyone has earned their own dusty, whiskey-fueled romantic Western drama, it's the woman who once set fire to her office in a pencil skirt, and the man who'd kill a bear with a shovel for her. Their love has always been the steel spine of Yellowstone, violent, broken, indestructible. But giving them a new show on the same night that the original show said goodbye, that was a misstep. It turned what should have been a solemn, reflective farewell into a PR stunt. Some fans even reported feeling emotionally manipulated, like they were mourning at a funeral, only to be handed a flyer for the after-party. You just watched your favorite show die. But wait, here's a spin-off to keep those tears from drying too long. It wasn't just tonal whiplash. It was brand dilution in real time. Worse still, the finale's storytelling suffered because of it. Certain character arcs that should have concluded with gravity were instead given vague send-offs, likely because producers didn't want to tie off threads that could be unraveled in the new series. Rip's final ride back to the ranch, which should have been a bookend to his lifelong loyalty, was suddenly hollow. Instead of resolution, viewers got a transition. Not an ending, but a handoff. The cowboy didn't ride into the sunset. He rode into a pitch meeting. Beth, ever the chaotic heart of the show, delivered her final monologue like a queen surveying the ruins of a kingdom she burned herself. It should have been haunting. Instead, it felt like setup. Every line carried the weight of not what had been, but what was coming next. As if the writers were afraid to close her story, choosing instead to tease new chaos in a different ZIP code. What was once poetry turned into a trailer voiceover. And what about the other characters? Case, Monica, Jamie, John Dutton. Their arcs were truncated to make room for the Beth and Rip show. John's legacy, arguably the central theme of the entire series, was wrapped up with a grunt and a flashback montage. It was as if the storytellers were saying, yes, this was important, but not as important as what's coming. For a show obsessed with legacy, that felt like an ironic betrayal. It's a troubling sign of where prestige television is heading when stories no longer end, they simply pivot. When characters aren't given closure, they're repackaged. When finales aren't conclusions, but commercials. It's not that spin-offs are inherently bad. 1883 and 1923 proved that the Yellowstone universe can thrive in new timelines with different characters. But what made those shows work was that they stood on their own hooves. They didn't suck oxygen out of the parent series finale. They respected the rhythm of storytelling, the need for grief before resurrection. This time, though, the creators didn't even wait for the dust to settle before building a new house on the old foundation. It's also worth mentioning that the announcement undermined Beth and Rip's legacy in subtle ways. By promising more of them, it stripped away the rare beauty of finality. Their love story was supposed to be tragic, brutal, and finite. But now it's infinite, like a never-ending country song on a playlist you can't skip. Instead of remembering Beth's last smirk or Rip's quiet goodbye, we're left wondering which streaming service will carry their rebooted romance. Beth Dutton once said, "You are the trailer park, I am the tornado." In that spirit, the finale was the trailer park, and the spin-off announcement was the storm that blew through it, tearing down any hope of true emotional closure. Maybe the spin-off will be brilliant. Maybe Beth and Rip will wrangle new demons, fall in love all over again, and ride off into whatever apocalypse Taylor Sheridan cooks up. But that's not the point. The point is, we weren't given a chance to say goodbye. We were sold another ride before we even parked the horse. And so, the Yellowstone finale wasn't a farewell. It was a preview. A cold, calculated move that cheapened the legacy of two of TV's most unforgettable outlaws. The Duttons deserved a curtain call, not a teaser trailer.